Okay, so for polymerization, there are two main types of polymerization: addition polymerization and condensation polymerization. Now, so for the first one, addition polymerization. Now, what do you think of when you see the word addition? Now, addition will remind you of alkenes functional group, right? Because alkenes functional group can undergo addition reaction. Okay, so for addition polymerization, our monomers are all alkenes, right? So there must be an alkene monomer. Okay, now, so polymerization is when we have many monomers joined together to form a big piece of polymer. Now, so now I'm going to teach you how are you going to combine the many small monomers to form one big molecule. All right, so for example, let's take this molecule for example, this alkene. Okay, so the first step you will do is, this is one monomer, right? If I have many of them and join them together, what should we do? So the first step is, we will try to make sure that on the left and on the right, there are nothing surrounding it. So we'll push these two groups down. Okay, so what does this mean? So on the top, nothing changes, still the same. But my H now has been pushed downwards, so now the H comes here. So as you can see, my 2H is being pushed downwards, and I arrive at this molecule which looks like this. They are exactly the same. Okay, these two molecules are the same. Now what's next is, now we can try to join the molecules together. Now if the question says, show two repeating units, okay, show me a polymer showing two repeating units. So how will this look like? So our next step will be, remove this double bond. Everything else remains the same. Okay, now what's next? The question says two repeating units, right? So for two repeating units, this is one repeating unit. We draw one more time exactly the same. This whole thing we repeat one more time. So there you have it. So over here, right, we will have this part of a polymer structure. This polymer, right, is now showing you two repeating units, 1 and 2. Two repeating units of the structure. Now, bear in mind, it is important that on the left and on the right of this polymer, you cannot draw any atom to it. Just leave the two lines here and here to show that it is continuously to the right, continuously to the left. So this is a polymer showing two repeating units. So let's recap. So the first step is identify given the monomer, the alkene, push the sides down or up to make it look like this, to ensure that on the left and on the right it is clear. Right? So after this, now change this double bond to a single bond as shown here. And if they say two repeating units, you just draw one more time as shown here. If they say three repeating units, you just draw one more time over here. Okay? So this is how we draw addition polymers. Okay, now let's go on to the second example. Okay, so we are still dealing with addition polymerization. So once again, addition polymerization, we are looking at alkenes molecules. Okay, alkenes, those with CC double bond. Okay, now so let's look at this second example. Now in this example here, you can see that there is this CC double bond again. Okay, and what's the question? The question says, using this monomer, right, draw a polymer showing two repeating units. Okay, now so like I mentioned just now, the first step is to first make sure that there's nothing on the left and right. So on top, nothing changes. Okay? Now, so to the left and to the right, this C2H5 and this Br, we can now push down. Okay? So we will do this and get this. Right? So as you can see now, this molecule is being transformed into this, but they are still exactly the same. Now, of course, when you're doing your question in the exercise or in your exam, you don't have to show me this. This is just a thinking process. I'm just telling you as a rough working what you can roughly do. So first, make sure that your left and right is totally clear. Right? It is the top portion and the bottom portion where your groups of atoms are. So now if the question says 2 repeating units, right? 2 repeating units. So I need to make use of this monomer, draw 2 times. So from here, I will draw without the double bond. Everything else the same, just that now you don't draw the double bond. Because the question says 2 repeating units, so this is 1. I draw 1 more time, exactly the same. Now, remember just now I mentioned that when you draw a polymer, it is important to make sure that to the left and to this right, that these 2 ends here, you don't have any atoms attached to it. Just draw these 2 lines at the side to show that this polymer, right, has something else to this side and something else to this side. It's a continuous chain. It's a polymer with many, many repeating units. What we have drawn here is just showing two repeating units. All right? So this example 2, once again, shows addition polymerization using an alkene molecule with CC double bond. Okay? Make sure that left and right, there's nothing else. 2 repeating units, I remove the double bond. Then I extend out to draw 1 more time. If 3 repeating units, I just draw 1 more time. Okay, now, so just now you have learned, given a monomer, how do you draw a polymer? But sometimes the questions might be reversed. Sometimes we might give you parts of the polymer and ask you to identify the monomer that has been used. Right? So now for this example number 1 here. Now this example on the top, as you can see, this is part of the polymer. So the trick is you identify the repeating unit. So if we look at this molecule on top, okay, you realize that this part to this part keeps repeating, right? This portion here has repeated 3 times. So we can safely say that this is actually the monomer. So once we have identified the part that has been repeated, so we take out this portion here. Okay, we take out this portion here and copy it down. And add in a double bond. And then that's it. Okay, so this will be the monomer that has been used to make this polymer. Right? So if you think back, the reaction is a reverse step. So instead of breaking the double bond to form this, now I'm forming back a double bond. So I repeat, the steps is look at the structure, identify the repeated parts. Once I see that this part is the repeated unit, I take this portion out and I add in a double bond, as shown here. Now, ensure that your carbon only has 4 bonds. You cannot have more bonds, you cannot have less than 4. Now, this example number 1 is a more straightforward example. Now, sometimes the question can be a little bit more difficult and more challenging. For example, for question number 2. Now, so for question number 2, as you can see, right, at one glance, it seems like there isn't a fixed repeated unit, right? So like I said just now, our first step is to make sure that to determine the portion of the structure that keeps repeating. So we identify the repeating unit in the second molecule as well, the second polymer. Okay, upon closer look, you realize that this portion here, right, and this portion here, they are exactly the same. However, the middle portion here looks a little bit different, right? This part here. Okay, but you realize that actually this portion that I have dotted out, this is actually the same as this. The only difference is that this molecule has been flipped left, right. If this dotted molecule were to flip the other side, it will be exactly the same as this molecule, this portion here, and this portion here. Can you see that? Therefore, actually, it is the same monomer that is used to make this polymer with 3 repeating structure. Just that the bond has been rotated. Alright, the bond has been rotated. So once we realize that, oh, actually these 3 portions, they are exactly the same. So similarly, we just choose any one of them. Right, so we just choose this portion. Copy down. And then add in the double bond. So this is the answer for question number 2. So when we do questions like this, when we are asked to identify the monomer in the polymer, at times we have to check if they are actually the same. This is just a flip of this molecule here. Okay?